but I want to get started. Thanks, Peter. I'm a pretty weird guy. To those of you who know me, that's nothing new. But one of the weirdest ways I think this manifested in myself is that from a young age, I had a lot of nagging questions that were pretty uncharacteristic in someone as young as me. As I got older, I tried to subdue these questions, but I almost did actually until I got to OSU. When I was in elementary school, I used to think about death and dying a lot. I remember waking up one night when I was in the 3rd grade, paralyzed by the fear of death, and I could even feel my legs tingling. I yelled for my mom down the hall, hoping she'd be able to come and comfort me, and trying the only way she knew how, she told me that's why we don't think about those things, that's why we don't think about death, and we just try to enjoy the time we have here as best we can. So I embraced this philosophy, ignoring my curiosity about death and enjoying my time on earth. For the rest of my pre-college life, in order to avoid thinking about death and other spiritual things that came up, I turned to intense self-comparison and valuing my self-worth based on others' opinions of me. I wanted everyone to think that I was a good kid and couldn't stand the thought of someone disliking me. This practice of social comparison became poison in my mind, especially when I went to church, which I kept going to just because that's what I thought good people did, and my parents expected me to. There it clashed with me trying to see if anyone else there was having the same questions with issues that I had. Questions like, why are we here and is God real? I viewed all the other kids around me as true Christians who believed in Jesus, which I didn't even understand what that meant at the time. But I also saw how many of them acted when our Sunday school teachers weren't around, bullying kids and talking about girls in ways that didn't seem consistent with ways Christians should speak. So I became really self-righteous as a result. I determined that I was a better person than they were, so if they were getting into heaven, all I had to do was keep up my act and I was all set. So mentally, that's where I stayed all through high school. This idea of getting people to think highly of me got so bad that I lost my identity and became a social chameleon. I would adapt myself to whoever was around me and didn't even have opinions anymore or know how to form them. When someone asked me what I thought about something, I'd have to pause and try to remember what their opinion was just so I could agree with them and please them. I'd managed to almost completely suppress these thoughts nagging at the back of my mind, and I could still feel a slight sense of cognitive dissonance because I called myself a Christian, but knew that there was something wrong with leaving Jesus out of the equation. But by then I had managed to convince myself that no one actually struggled with these ideas that I was having, and that Christians just wanted to be good people, but didn't actually believe in God or Jesus. These beliefs helped me to lose almost all my spiritual curiosity, and I was on the brink of a spiritual death. To give you a better idea of where I was before coming to OSU, I remember packing up my things to come down here and stumbling across my Bible. I debated whether or not it was worth bringing since I didn't bother to read it anyways, and casually decided, what the heck, and threw it in with my stuff to go. Once I got here, I was still more concerned with surrounding myself with people who liked me than seeking out a group of people who called themselves Christians, because I didn't think that they would be any different than what I had already simplified Christians to be in my mind. But while I was here, I met a couple of guys named Nat Park and Ty Williams. They asked me if I wanted to check out their Bible study on Wednesday, and they seemed cool enough, so I decided I would do it. There, I met the third leader, Alex Hill, and by going to their study every week and meeting up with Ty on a weekly basis, I learned a lot. They taught me that this concept of half-in, half-out Christianity that I was living didn't make sense if God was real. They taught me that no matter how good of a person I thought I was, it was never going to be good enough, that I was comparing myself to a failing standard, and that the standard is Jesus. I learned that no one is ever going to be good enough, and that this idea of believing in him that had eluded me for so long meant that I accepted in my heart that Jesus is truly the Son of God, and I accept his gift of dying on the cross to make up for the fact that none of us will ever be good enough. That even when I was wicked and dead in my sins of apathy, idolatry, and unbelief, that he took that sin upon himself so I can rejoice in heaven with him forever. I saw Christian men who decided to follow Jesus, sharing in their struggles to do so on a daily basis with all their heart, mind, strength, and soul. Things started to make sense in my life. At Real Life on Thursday, for the first time ever, I saw college students my own age raising their hands in worship to the Lord, and it blew me away. It finally dawned on me that this love and total commitment to Jesus was Christianity, and it's what I've been missing. I still haven't completely overcome my struggles with comparing myself to others, and there's still plenty of other areas in my life I try to keep from God. But the difference now is that I don't find my worth in what other people think of me, and I know who I am in Christ. I have a great community of guys around me who continue to challenge me to address these hard questions and give me the freedom to continue being weird, and I couldn't be more thankful for them. So if there's anything I hope you take away from my story, it's this: to keep wrestling with those deep questions that you have, because you can't establish a legitimate Christian faith by just sweeping them under the rug in simply calling yourself a Christian. So that's my story. It's not the most exciting one out there, but it's the one that the God of the universe gave to me, and I think that's pretty cool. Thanks.